Good morning, Ajahn.
Morning.
Dear brother and sister, let us pay respect to Ajahn by bowing 3 times. First bow, second bow, third bow. We will begin with the request for 3 refuges and 5 and 8 precepts.
มัดยังพันเตติสารเนนะสหะอัฏฐปัญจศีลานิยาจามะตุติยัมปิมัดยังพันเตติสารเนนะสหะอัฏฐปัญจศีลานิยาจามะตติยัมปิมัดยังพันเตติสารเนนะสหะอัฏฐปัญจศีลานิยาจามะ
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
ธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
พุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
สังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ตุติยัมปิบุตทังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ตุติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ตุติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิบุตทังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังคัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
สรณะขมนังนิธิตัง
อามะพันเต
ปานาติปาตาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
ปานาติปาตาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
อาทินนาทานาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
อาดินนาดานาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
กาเมสุมิชฌาจาราเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
กาเมสุมิชฌาจาราเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
สาวาทาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
มุสาวาดาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
สุราเมระยะมัชฌปมาทัฏฐานาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
สุราเมระยะมัจจปมาดัฏฐานาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
Okay, now for the 8th preceptor. อพรหมจริยาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
Brahmacharya Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
อิกาละโภชนาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
Vikara Bhojana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
นัจจคีตวัฏฐิตวิสุขทัสสนามาลาคันทะวิเลปนะธารณะมันดนะวิปูสนัฏฐานาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
Nacha Gita Varita Visuka Tasana Madaganta Virepana Dhanana Mandana Vibhusana Dana Veramani Sikkhapadam Samadhiyami.
จาสยนะมหาสยนาเวระมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
Ujjasayana Mahasayana Velamani Sikapatan Samadhiyami.
อิมานิปัญจอัฏฐสิกขาปทานิสมาธิยามิ
Imani Atta Sikapatani Samadhiyami. Imani Atta Sikapatani Samadhiyami. Imani Atta Sikapatani Samadhiyami.
สีเลนะสุปฏิญญันติสีเลนะโภคสัมปทาสีเลนะนิพพุติญญันติตัสมาสีลังวิโสทะเย
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We will now make a formal request for the Dhamma talk.
Brahma Jaloka Hikpati Sahang Pakti Kahatan Jalian Hikwak-rang Ayajakha Santi Taksata Pakrakjak Jaktika Ese Tutang Mang Anugang Pikmang Pakjang
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังพุทธรังอุปัชฌายังนะมัสสามิ Okay, so good morning everybody again. Today is Fridays and we consider one pra, the monks' days, the day that we come to ask for the precept for training rules and to listen to the Dhamma Talk. So, which is to adjust to the modern day. In the traditional way, we use the half moon and full moon, but because now we somehow have to adjust to the work kind of situation, so we end up doing it every Friday. So we can consider this is the holy day for us. The holy means the whole. We try to be whole again, which just means that normally we probably not whole. We just separate it into pieces, try to do this and that and not really in oneness to do anything. I think it's the nature of the sensual pressure. It's just variety of distraction, sight, sound, smell, taste. This is how it it attract our attention, to draw us in. We call the rabbit hole. Each one have their own rabbit hole. You can go in and you can dwell in that beautiful sight, nice sounds, and nice taste, and just lost in that world. But maybe once a week or so, we try to regain our attention, regain our strength in pursuing something higher than what we call normally the mundane. Try to survive, earn a living, so that we can have our livelihood. But there are some maybe some higher questions that sometimes we even think about answering that. I read somewhere they said that what we do this day, we try to avoid answering some big questions. So we end up pursuing and try to preoccupy ourselves with some minor questions or something that we can answer. So like how can we earn more? How can we improve this and that? but the real the biggest question is the big questions of existence, of what it means to have this life, what it means for us to have to go all sick and finally die. What does it all mean? Is it come out to nothing? We just basically try to enjoy ourselves and then try to squeeze out the maximum pressure from this life, and then when we die, it all go to emptiness, or there are anything more meaningful in all of these things. So I think that for me that is the biggest questions, and sometimes if we not look at it, we try to just use our life pursuing something that is not really that worthwhile. Just keep ourselves distracted, so that we can forget about the bigger questions. But yeah, coming back to the Buddhist idea of having this body and mind, that we feel like there are some higher goal. We are, as human beings, we are capable, and we should as well, pursuing the big questions, the questions about the whole meaning of life, and are there any possible way of transcend all of this suffering, of this cycle of birth, old age, sickness, and death. So yeah, so here once a week, then we put that into main focus, what we can do today, try to answer that, pursuing that. And I think as we get older, then that question is probably closer to us somehow. We can't avoid it. We're not as young as before. Sickness, old age. We probably visit the funeral of maybe even now our generations as well. Like my friend in school, I just went with, they have this gathering. It turned out that almost 15 friends of mine in my school year is already passed away. We not have a big class, so 15 is a lot. It's like almost, I think it's about 200 of us, 15, so it's almost 10% now. So it's quite a big number this day that passed away so quickly. But yeah, so that is a thing that we think about. We don't have time. We don't have much time left. Yeah. So what is the real importance? What can we derive from this? So in the traditional way, we start with taking the refuge in the triple gems, which means that of all the treasure, of all the things that we consider valuable in the world, the triple gems is the highest. And I think that's one of the, whether you call yourself Buddhist or not, I think this is probably one of the most important characteristics. What do you value the most? Yeah. If you say that these triple gems is worthy of, whatever you lost, you can lose your wealth, you can lose your relatives, you can lose your health, or even you can lose your own life. But what does it mean? This is more valuable than even my life. This is Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, because of precious gems. I think that's probably the characteristic of all the Buddhists, because we value these precious gems. the Buddha is he's a human being like us all, but he out of his very determined many lifetimes of accumulated parami. So he earned this knowledge through very very difficult tasks. Yeah, if you read the Buddha story, even just this lifetime, it's just amazing. You know, he probably born in the most wealthy and most powerful, but he renounced all of those, pursuing something higher, and he teach the Dhamma, which is not easy to understand. The first night when he got enlightened, so interesting that the first thought that he had is not to teach. I mean, would it be possible for some people who accumulate so many parami, many lifetime, but that night when he understand the full whole cause and relation or all these paticcasamuppada, the cause and conditions, and he realized that it's too difficult. If you teach, then people might not really understand it because people are so deluded in the world. We need the Brahma, which is the God, the highest God of all gods, have to invite the Buddha to teach. So this Dhamma is very precious. It's priceless. It's the fact that we can hear the Dhamma this day is so fortunate for us all that we have during the time where the Dhamma is still available. So we can have access to that. And then the Sangha, which is the community of practice, the one who uphold this way of life, which is considered the most conducive to practice, to learn about ourselves, and is well supported by the lay people, and by helping each other, then we can try to be free from this world of sufferings. So this is consider our precious gems that we value the most. And then the next step from that is to take the training rules. I think this is wonderful that you all starting the Dhamma Talk by asking to take up, to undertake these training rules at your level, whatever your level is. 5 precepts, very good. 8 precepts is even better. So yeah, this is a thing that it's not just theoretical. It's not just entertaining that you come and listen to the Dhamma Talk. If it's a real Dhamma Talk, it should have some changing. Yeah, you should do something to yourself. You should be more moral, more in terms of the body, speech, and mind. And be more in line with the Dhamma. And more you are in line with the Dhamma, the way you think, the way you speak, the way you act, then you live more harmony to the world. You become one with the Dhamma. So it's go hand in hand. The Sila or the morality and the Panya, the understanding, the wisdom, it's go hand in hand. It's not separate. So this is a thing that I enjoy most when I come and study the Buddha teaching, because sometimes you hear many nice phrases, very when you listen, you just say, yeah, that's it. That is very true. I don't know why, but sometimes when you listen to this Ajahn, your teacher, when he mentions something and you say, oh, that what it is. No, for sure. Yeah, one of the things that I like most, like so many things Ajahn Chia Saro teach us. But one of the things that I remember up to this day is he described the way of the morality and wisdom. The morality is Sila and wisdom is Panna. He said that these things go hand in hand. You can't separate between these two. I think maybe because in the West, this idea is separate. The good people and the wise people or the clever people are sometimes they not go in line. They have the thinking that the good people is somehow going to be more simple or more, you can say, not so complicated. Why they're so good, but the more clever, they try to be a little bit of cheating and they're not so good. So that two things is separate. But in Buddhism, is the concept of the real good people is a smart one. The one who really smart, they will lead the life in such a way that is harmless. They will be very high moral as well, and both are supporting each other. The fact that you lead the moral life, then you gain the wisdom. If you're cleansing the wisdom, and when you have more wisdom, you're more wise. Your behavior, your conduct will be in line with the moral. So these things go hand in hand. And Ajahn Chiyasaro, usually he will describe it as two hands. It's like cleaning each other, right hand and the left hand. So when you purify your precept, your understanding get deepening as well. And when your understanding is get deepening, your precept also higher. You want to take up more training because you see the benefit of that. Because you see that the fact that you lead that life, you lead that pure and clean, is very help in terms of the mind. It stabilize the mind, make your wisdom more focused and more able to penetrate deeper. So this always go hand in hand. And when I listen to Ajahn Chiyasaro talk about this concept of the Sila and the Panna, the moral and the wisdom, they all clean each other. I right away I think, yeah, that's it. That's pretty make a lot of sense. But then now, in the past couple of years, I have a chance to go deeper into the teaching of the Buddha and study systematically in terms of Pali and the understanding. So this one of my joy is to basically to find out of all the saying of Kruba Ajahn, either Ajahn Chah, Ajahn Chiyasaro, whether they have anything in the sutta. And most of the time I find yes, it's in the sutta. But see, my teacher somehow he kind of simplified it, and he said it at the right moment where it really go deep in the heart. But it was so nice for me to go back and read the origin. Okay, this is in the sutta. So yeah, this is again is in one of the sutta in Tika Nikaya, one of the early chapter of Sila Khanda, the group of Sila. It's called Sona Danda Brahma. This is the story about Sona Danda Brahma. He basically very famous, and he almost like in charge of the whole city because he is very powerful those days. The Brahmin is one of the high caste. So he hear about the Buddha coming to this town. So he decided to go and visit. But of course, or the other Brahmin doesn't want him to go because he said, well, it's not proper. You are so famous. If you go and visit Kotama, Samana Kotama, then it's not good. You should wait for him to visit you rather than you go and visit him. But then he basically compare himself to the Buddha, and it turned out that the Buddha have all the reason why he should go and pay respect to the Buddha. And come from the higher caste, the Khattiya, the king is considered at that time higher than the Brahmin, the priest, and he also renounced many things, and he also respected by many people, and his teaching, his conduct is much more pure than the Brahmin. So he ended up going to see the Buddha. But when he about to visit the Buddha, the thought arises in him that, what happened if say, if I ask the question to the Buddha, and then that questions might not be so clever, or it might not be wise. The Buddha might say, "Oh, this is not a proper question. You should ask like this." So if that's the case, then people will criticize me or think that I'm stupid. I ask a very stupid question. So maybe I shouldn't ask the question. And then the thought arises, maybe the Buddha asked me the questions. Oh, if the Buddha asked me the question, what happens if I answer is wrong? And the Buddha said, well, this is not a good answer. You should answer like this. So then again, I will basically lost the respect of people around me. And when I lost the respect, my reputation ruined, and then everything else gone, my power and everything. So he was thinking, or maybe I should turn away and go back now, because I'm so afraid that I might turn out to be stupid after all. But he said, well, the people will think, well, you come all the way here, but rather than go and visit the Buddha, you kind of cold feet and then leave. I say that's also not an option. So he was thinking, okay, so only last option. If the Buddha asks me something that I know, then I will not look bad, because I know how to answer it. So let the Buddha, if he know my mind, let he ask me about the thing that I know. So this is kind of very beautiful way when you go see the Buddha what to do. And of course, the Buddha, he can read the mind. So he know that this Brahmin is so worried about his reputation. So rather than the Buddha wait for him to ask him or ask that Brahmin, he basically join in, basically ask the Brahmin about what he know. So the Buddha asked him, okay, Brahmin, you are well versed in this Brahmin teaching. Let me ask you, what is the component of the one who can be called Brahmin? So the Brahmin is very happy. This is easy, because he asked what I know. So I say, oh, it's easy. It's 5 conditions that you can call Brahmin. The first one, you have to be born Brahmin. Basically, your ancestor from the father side, right back up to the 7th generation, your mother side up to the 7th generation, they're all purebred. They have basically genetically pure, no mix up with other lower race. Just basically part of this. My race is a purebred. So that's the first condition, to be born as a Brahmin. And the second one is have to be able to memorize all this mantra, the Veda. It is the holy script of the Brahmin. It's only teaching within the group. You're not allowed to learn it if you're not Brahmin. So it's very, very, very in group. You can limit education within their own group. They're not teaching to other. So you learn this mantra, these verses. And the third one is to have a nice complexion. Basically, with a handsome, your complex, your white, your whatever consider that's nice appearance at that time is the third. And the fourth one is have the right conduct, the morality, the Sila. You have to conduct it well, speak well, act well, not harming other. This is the fourth condition. And the last one is about Panya, the wisdom, have to be wise, know the detail. Usually in the Brahmin, you have to know the sacrificing act, how to do this and step and that. What is the meaning of those and that? So this is the 5 condition that to be considered Brahmin. So then the Buddha asked, okay, let's say that if you have only 4, if you have to take out 1, what can you take out from this? So the Brahmin think about it and say, oh, okay, I think the first one that we can take out is the appearance. You don't need to be beautiful or handsome to be Brahmin. Sometimes you can be a little bit ugly. It's okay as far as you have every other 4 conditions. You pure birth, and then you well versed in the Veda or the mantra, and then you have a conduct and the wisdom. So you have 4. And the Buddha asked again, okay, let's say you have to take out another 1. You have only 3. Now, what is your 3? And he will say, okay, now then maybe mantra is not important. Sometimes you may not be able to memorize it. You have poor memory, but as far as you're born pure and you have good conduct and then have a wisdom, then you can consider Brahman. The Buddha asks again, okay, how about if you have only 2, you have to take out 1 more. Now, what is the most important? So Brahmin think very hard, and in the end he said, okay, if it's only 2, then you don't need to be born pure. You need the Sila, you need the morality, and then you need the wisdom to be considered Brahman. And the Buddha said, yeah, very, very wise, very wise. And he puts again, okay, if you have to take 1, what is the most important to be Brahmin? Now that Brahmin said, no, Buddha, you can't take out anymore. This is the minimum. If you don't have these 2, then you can't be called Brahmin. And the Buddha is very wise. And the Brahmin, this is the metaphor of the Brahmin. And he said himself that, the Buddha, the morality is like one hand, the wisdom is like the other hand. When you have morality, then it cleans the wisdom. When you have a deeper understanding, it cleans the conduct or the morality. So this go hand in hand. It's like 2, you can't separate. It's like 2 sides of the same coin. And the Buddha said, yes, yeah, I'm agree. Yeah, that 2 go together. And actually, the other 3 is it's optional. You don't need that, but this 2 is a must. If you don't have these 2, then you not consider Brahmin. And of course, the Buddha expand upon, because that's so far the Brahmin know that the Brahmin is very happy because he can answer the question now. He doesn't look stupid anymore. But the Buddha basically add to that what is mean by Sila, because the Brahmin have understanding of Sila in one way. The Buddha give more understanding of the Sila, basically 5 precepts, 8, and then 10, and the renunciation precept, and the wisdom also go up to the Makkapala, to the understanding of the penetrating the samsara. And then they was happy because the Brahmin also feel like he be a part of this answer, and he can maintain his position, his wealth, his reputation. But it's very interesting also at the end, the Brahmin, he invite all the Buddha to his house, and he become the Buddhist. He take the refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. But there's some condition. He said that because his position depend upon he being Brahmin. So if he basically pay respect to the Buddha, the full basically, normally when you pay respect to the Buddha, you will bow. You will bow 3 times to the Buddha. That considered the highest. But he said, if I do such and such thing, then the people might might think that I'm basically there's some conflict between Brahmin and Buddhism, I guess, to a certain extent, and people will criticize me. I will lose my wealth, I will lose my status, I will basically not able to maintain this wealthy. So I just do certain things. Maybe not. I will not stand up when you come, but I will anchally, like I will do like this. Consider my highest, most respect. And when I listen to the Dhamma talk, normally you will bow to it, but I will just take my head cover off. That consider my highest regard, because I don't want to show people that I pay respect to you, because I will lose everything else and I would not be able to support you, and now it lost everything. So let this be my highest form of reverence to you. And if I on the vehicle, actually I would like to step out and then bow to you, but that will not be possible in my position, though I will just raise my stick and then I will lower it down. That consider my sign of respect to you. So this is another interesting that even in the Buddha time, you understand it the most, but you can't manifest it because you might lose other status. I don't know whether this day there might be such like that in the modern day, where people have very deep respect in the teaching of Buddha, but because of their situation, they can't do that. They can't fully show their respect because of their kind of some implication. They have to maintain the social order somehow. Yeah, so they have to do that. So this is another nice study. You can go and read it in the Tikka Nikaya in detail. But the point I want to make is like the fact of the Sila and the Panya. That's two go hand in hand, and they never separate, and they will cleanse each other. So the fact that in the beginning you ask for the precept and then listen to the Dhamma talk, I think this is a beautiful way of uphold that idea of, you not just listen to it like entertaining, but you really, if you understand it, you should bring it to practice. I mean, otherwise you not understand it. If it doesn't change your way of thinking, your way of conduct, it doesn't make you basically do something higher, then it's not really mean much. The thing is, this Dhamma will encourage you to try it out, come and see, to practice. So you take up, actually, if you are Buddhist, just know that the triple gem is precious. It's just not enough. You have to internalize it. Somehow you be part of that triple gem. The only way to do that is to undertake the training. If you just listen to my talk and then you still not taking 5 precepts, I think I don't know. Maybe I didn't teach it correctly. I feel not doing my duty as a teacher. But at least keep the 5 precepts, and I recommend the 8 precepts once a week. I think that is a very nice way of balancing. I mean, these days so many distractions. If your mind doesn't have any peace of mind, it doesn't know how to internalize, how to create your own source of happiness, then you tend to lose in the massive weapon of distraction that around you. So 8 precepts I really recommend once a week. As a lay people, I think it's a good balance. You can have kind of a real holy day, whole, you become whole again. You don't have to running around bit and piece, try to pat yourself up, which is leaking all the time. You try to generate your own source of happiness. So this is a very nice way and a traditional way of listening to the Dhamma talk by showing up your commitment. I want to take that training, and and during the time you will learn to keeping the precept. That the more you understanding the more your morality is in line with that precept. When you see the danger of sensual pressures and try to gain the independent. Your happiness doesn't depend on the sense pressure. Okay, so I think that's good for the introduction. Maybe I just go to the questions and answer that people ask me. There's some very easy one I can answer first. The first one is about what is the difference between anumodhami and anumodana? Can they be used interchangeably? Yeah, it's the word anumodhami mean I, me mean I anumodhana mean I rejoice in your merit. I rejoice in your wholesome deed. Anumodhana, it just mean rejoice. It just make that word into now. The action of rejoice, it's become now when you use anumodana at the end. So it's interchangeable. If it we, then you do anumodhama. Anumodhama means we rejoice in your generosity, or you go to the temple, you offer the food to the monk. Yeah, I rejoice in your good merit. So that an easy one. Okay, anumodhami and anumodana. And another one that I want to maybe answer is about the questions about my previous Dhamma talk. I think last week that I tried to convince you that the real mudita is to be free from sense pressure. Okay, so there's a question that do you mean that when we cultivate mudita to a certain level, a sense of happiness or contentment that arises from mudita is enough, such that we will no longer crave for sense pressure? So can Ajahn share in detail why mudita is to be free from sense pressure? Okay, so that I think that is very good point. And last week I want to push a little bit of the definition. But before I answer that questions about relationship between the mudita and the sense, the freeing from sense pressure, let me show you the table I give to maybe Yuyun or Juliana can put that on. It's easier to see. Okay, let's go over this first. Okay, the four Brahma Vihara. The Brahma is like the divine. Vihara is abiding, divine abiding. So there's four aspects of that. There's a metta, the friendly or loving kindness. Normally we can translate as a friendly love. Karuna, compassion. Mudita, sympathetic joy, and upekha, equanimity. Okay, so that is the definition. Okay, so when we understand this, each term, we have to know the thing that is similar or very close, or the thing that is totally opposite. For example, the metta, the friendly love, the far enemy is payapada or ill will. If you cultivate metta, then it's directly opposed to ill will. Ill will can't arise because it's two sides. The metta is one end and the ill will is the other end. When you develop metta friendly, then there will be no ill will. You don't have any sense of enemy anywhere. Everybody become friends. So the ill will is called payabada. But the near enemy, which is can be very close, is called raga or lust. This is not metta. This is very important because some people, when you develop metta, you end up having lust or craving or craving for sense pressure. So this is not metta. We have to be very clear. I think this is one of the things about the definition when we say love in English. Love usually means many things. The real love that is wholesome love is the metta love, the friendly love, the love that is no self, no sense of self there. Is the love that coming from realize that we are friends in old age, sickness, and death. We are all in that together. Everybody have to go all ill and then die. So in that sense, we are friends. But if you develop love into lust and craving for sensual pleasure, then that's not metta. That's the enemy. So you have to be aware of that. Okay, and then second one, karuna, compassion. The opposite of compassion is cruelty, vihingsa. Vihingsa is one of the thing that you don't have when you have compassion. You want to help people who are in deep trouble, who are in danger. So it's totally opposite of cruelty. But the near enemy is sadness or soka. If you not be careful when you have compassion, if you tend to become sad, then you're not practicing karuna anymore, which is become unwholesome. So you have to very clear that. Actually, karuna don't need to be sad. You help. You can even have joy in that. I mean, not joy in other people's suffering, but joy that you have a chance to help, and you can be part of that. You can alleviate their suffering. So that is very important point. And the mudita, the sympathetic joy, the fact that you can enjoy, you can rejoice in other people's happiness, is opposite of jealousy, risaya, jealousy. And another one is very interesting. It's called arati. Arati is mean that we don't have joy in the holy life, especially like a monk who are thinking of this robe. They say because they don't have mudita, they don't have sympathetic joy. Arati is they use the word in terms of you not feel at home with your monkhood and you want to go out and then enjoy the sense pleasure. It's called arati. It's also the name of the Mara daughter as well, the arati. And then the near enemy of mudita is somanasa, or thinking that you will be benefit as well from that. Whatever, maybe you will, your friend got higher status or whatever. If you not careful, you mudita mean that, oh yeah, now I will benefit from him. I will ask for this and that. So that not mudita. That called somanasa. You have a self as a point of reference that will benefit me somehow. So that is not mudita. And ubeka, equanimity, is opposite of raka and patika. Raka in greed and patika in hatred, because equanimity is not fell into this extreme of greed or hatred. But the near enemy of ubeka is anyanupeka. Anya means not knowing. So you become equanimity because you don't know. You're basically ignorance. It's bliss. Sometimes people say ignorance is bliss. It's exactly that. When you don't know a thing, and you become bliss because of that. No, that's not ubeka. The ubeka is full of understanding. You know that how this thing go and how much can you affect that person. And most of the time it means that you know karma. People got good and bad result because of their own karma. So you become equanimity. You can't help them now, but you can watch, and then when they're ready, you're ready, then maybe you can go and help. But in the meantime, you have to have wisdom to know that. So you can see that the first three is more related to the status of the people who you have the interaction with. If they are in the middle, then you use metta, you be feel friend. If they are suffering, then you use karuna. If they're happiness, you use mudita. And ubeka is almost like separate, because the first three is just the way of interaction between person and person. You can feel, but ubeka, you have to have some wisdom in that. Otherwise, it's not real ubeka. So ubeka is more related to the Dhamma, or to the law of karma that is applies universally. You basically, it's more broader. So you have to practice this first three and then go to ubeka. The metta is the most fundamental if you don't have a metta, you don't have anything else, because you have to have a sense of friendliness first, have the connection, everybody, and everything else built on that. If you don't have a metta, it's very hard to feel compassion. Because if you don't have metta, then say if you think that person is your enemy, when your enemy is suffering, then you not have compassion. You feel joy. So that is not from a vihara. So that always start with a metta, and then depend on that particular person whether they are sad, whether they are unhappy or happy. If they're unhappy, they're suffering, then you use karuna. If they're happy, then you use mudita. And in the end, you leave it to the law of karma that you use the upekha. So that is for Brahma Vihara. Okay, and then there's a Noble Eightfold Path that you probably learned already. So I would just want to pick the first two of the Noble Eightfold Path, which is the Samma Ditti, the right view, and Samma Sankappa, the right intention or right thought. These two is considered part of the, we can start the thought process. You see, when you view it, you think in this line. So the right view is to know the rules about the Four Noble Truths: suffering, cause of suffering, cessation, and the path towards the cessation of suffering. And the Samma Sankappa, the right intention or right thought, there's three of those. Okay, the first one is called Nekkhamma Sankappa. The word means non-sense pressure. Nik means to basically step away. Kamma means calm, means sense pressure. So the literal meaning is mean non-sense pressure. It means renunciation. That what we usually translate into English word renunciation. But the real Pali word is mean step out from the sensual pressure. Second one is Appayapada, is non-ill will. And third one is Avihingsa or non-cruelty. Okay, so that's called the right intention. Okay, so if you look carefully, it's very interesting because in the Noble Eightfold Path, they not mention for Brahmavihara directly. Why? Because the for Brahmavihara is something to do with conventions. So you still have the sense of beings there, either being there that going to be your friend, being there that you wanted to be free from suffering, being there that you rejoice in their happiness, or being there subject to law of karma. So there's a being. But the Noble Eightfold Path is go deeper than that. It's Lokutara. It's basically it's about Satya now. It's the truth. The truth doesn't have any being. The being is convention, the convenient way we call this group, this aggregate of nama rupa, we call this being. But in the real thing, it's just a quality arising and passing away, quality of this and that. So that's why in the Noble Eightfold Path, the four Brahma Vihara doesn't be part of that directly. But of course, you need to have a strong sense of beings as well, in order to contemplate the truth. Okay, so, but if you want to somehow put the four Brahma Vihara, try to map it in the Noble Eightfold Path, how would you do it? That's the thing that I want you to maybe think a little bit. Okay, so you can look at the word and you can start to see some of the similarity right away, right? You can see that in the metta, the enemy of metta is called Pyapada, right? Ill will. So the opposite of that Pyapada is called Appayapada. In the beginning means no, or mean the opposite of Pyapada. Appayapada is non-ill will. That is the same as the Appayapada Sankappa, right? So you can say that the metta is the Appayapada Sankappa. The non-ill will is this right intention, right thought, number two, right? And then the cruelty, which is the opposite of karuna, when you opposite of that is called non-cruelty, it's become number three of the right intention, right? You can see that kind of match there. So in the end, it's almost, you can say that the Samma Sankappa, right intention, number two and number three, if you don't use a negative term, you can use a positive term. The positive term being the non-ill will become non-evil become metta, and non-cruelty become karuna, right? So you have these two already, metta and karuna. Okay, so how about the rest? How about mudita and upekha, where you want to put it? Okay, I would say that upekha is probably close to the samadhi, because like I mentioned before, the upekha have to have some wisdom in there. You have to see being as a subject to law of karma, which is cause and condition. This is the same as a samadhi when you have a right view. But the right view is broader. The right view is about suffering, cause of suffering, cessation, and the path towards cessation. But the ubekha is probably, you have to know well about the first two. You have to know the suffering and cause of suffering, which is the karma. The cause of suffering is karma. So you can match ubekha into the samadhi, right view. When you have right view, when you know all this, you become ubekha, you become basically equanimity. Okay, so when you match that, what is left? The left is mudita, and the nekama. See, you can see what I'm getting at. So you can see that the mudita and also the enemy of mudita is also arati as well. Arati means not joy in the holy life. So the real nekama is the holy life, basically renunciation, renunciate life is basically the right to renounce sense pressure. So that's why I say that the mudita is the real kind of the gist of the metta of the mudita is to free from sense pressure, because the sense pressure is attached many suffering into sense pressure a lot. And so the real sense of mudita is the real, that when you free from this sense pressure, then this is called the real mudita or the motana. You're so happy with the fact that they be released from this sensual pressure, and it's met very well with the right intention. Number one, the nekama sankapo. So this is how I understand this for Brahma Vihara and how it's matched into the Noble Eightfold Path. And I think that is, for me, anyway, I think it's very key. Of course, in mudita, you can join that. You know, it's maybe like your friend getting married or whatever, you can feel joy with them. But like I say that if they have the sense pressure add to that, I doubt whether that will be true happiness, because it is a cause of suffering. So in many ways, for me, it's the appropriate reaction would be more karuna than the mudita. You pray mudita when some people get enlightened or somebody get jhana, something like that. That I will consider is a real mudita, because it's a real, it's a happiness that is free of suffering. It's called the niramis sukha. It's untainted by all this sensual pressure which can lead to suffering. So that's why I think mudita is matched well with free from sense pressure. And also in the definition of mudita, they have a say here that it's called tang samakino, the samakhi, the samakhi, the unite of all the Dhamma become the mudita. The highest form of mudita actually is the unite of Noble Eightfold Path. That's why it's called Eightfold, because it's all 8 factors come together. It can be released from the whole, what the samsara, the whole cycle of rebirth. For me, that is a real kind of mudita, the mudita of the samakhi, the rejoice in the highest sense of samakhi, of this united, the wholeness, the basically the makkha, that moment of breakthrough the samsara altogether. That is the real joy. That the real anumotana for me. Okay, so I think that is just my try to elaborate on last week that I explained to you. So hopefully that my explanation will, you will maybe study a little bit more and try to appreciate what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I think we have come to the end. Maybe see you next week then. Okay, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Ajahn, for your guidance and teaching. Let us rejoice by saying 3 times sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We will now close our section with homage to the Triple Zen. Could Ajahn ask for the homage to the Triple Zen?
Okay, so we do together. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivatemi Savakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami.
Thank you, Ajahn. We bow 3 times to Ajahn. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Okay, see you again, Ajahn, next week. Next week will be the Vasa, last day for the Vasa, right?
Right. Okay, next week I can still do it, but the weeks after that I will be on my way to. I have to go to Chiang Rai for the Katina, so there's no signal over there to do the Zoom. So the week after next week, then I have to cancel that.
Okay.
But next week is still okay. So next week we do it next week. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Ajahn. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
There are some misspelling. I will send you the new one. The one that I just sent you is somehow is spelling wrong. So just send a new one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. See you next week.